Hey there, I'm Jason Berry. I'm a business coach. I work with Action Coach Business Coaching, and I've been doing this for about going on 4.5 years now. And I've got a background in business ownership, and glad to be here, Bill.
Well, welcome, Jason. Tell us a little bit about your journey, like reel it back. Like, how did you get started in business?
Hmm. So, this is kind of funny. When I was a kid, I would go into an outdoor outfitter kind of store, like an REI or something like that. And I would look around and think to myself, man, people get paid to do this. This is awesome. So, from a young age, like middle school, I had an aspiration to get into outdoor retail. I'm a gearhead. I like to be outside. I like to talk about being outside. And one thing led to another, and ended up at ASU up in Boone, North Carolina, Appalachian State University, and worked part time at an awesome outfitters there called Footsloggers. Footsloggers was founded in '71, so it's been around a good long while. And the owner was not interested in, or his children weren't interested in taking the business over. So um, in around 2005, he and I worked together on a buyout arrangement so that I could purchase the business from him and over several years' time. So that's what we did. And I'm not inherently wealthy, so my parents figured out a way to help me with the down payment on the buyout agreement. And frankly, he made it possible with our arrangement for me to be able to buy into it over time, of course. And shortly after getting out of college, I was able to acquire, it was 2 stores, 22 team members, this awesome, well-established outdoor retail business. And that was my life for about 20 years. I didn't own it for all those 20 years, but I was involved with the business for about 18, 20 years. And I guess the story goes, I went to business school and double majored in marketing and management, thinking, hey, this is exactly what I need to learn to be a cracker business owner, right? A really strong business owner. So I did that, and did well in school, got out, acquired the business, and it took me about a year and a half to realize I didn't know what I was doing. So you may have heard this story before, Bill, right? So I got into the business. There's not many people in the world that can better custom fit a backpack or hiking boots than me. I'm really good at that stuff. I'm pretty darn good at training the team. But all of the aspects of running the business, which is a completely different skill set than the vocation, um, business school taught me a lot about how to be an employee in a business, but not much about being a business owner. So in recognizing that, I took my egos, step by step, I took my ego out of the equation. It's like, there's an education gap that I need to fill here and resolve. So I started seeking out some outside help, like one does. So I found a couple of consultants and worked with them over about 3 years' time, 2 different consultants I did some work with. And we did great work in the business, but both times we did great work in the business in a specific area that was their expertise. And then they left, and both times everything defaulted right back to where we were from square one, which was really frustrating. And it was quite an investment. It was well over $100,000 over those several years invested in those consultants. And that was really frustrating. I was willing to make the investment. I was willing to take my ego out of the way, but I did not find the right resource to help me get to the next level in my business and start to control my time better. That's really what it was about. We were making money, but it took all of me to make that business happen. And so after 11 years of owning the business, going through kind of like 2 or 3 big cycles of ups and downs and various things that were going on with the business, I decided to let the business go, sold it to actually a customer that I'd worked with over the years, and moved on from the business. Still very interested in learning what it takes to operate a business successfully, but I just wasn't willing to give that business any more time trying to figure it out while I was on that path. So we ended up moving from Boone to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, which is where my wife's from. That's what brought us down here. And after a couple of months, I ran into a local action coach and a team, and I got to talking with them. And after hearing my background, they asked, have you ever considered helping other business owners figure this stuff out along the way and becoming a coach? Because you got all this experience and all this empathy too. I know what it feels like to try to figure out payroll, to try to figure out scheduling, hiring, marketing, finance control, all these things. I hadn't really considered that before, but it was an interesting idea. So my first thought, very frankly, was consulting doesn't work. Because that was my experience that I'd had up in the mountains. But after spending about 2.5, 3 months vetting Action Coach, the organization, talking to coaches, past coaches, talking to clients, past clients, I could not shoot a hole in the program and the system and the resource. It's in fact what I was looking for, 15 years earlier in the business I had up in Boone. So once I had done my due diligence very thoroughly, I just could not think of a better way for me to invest in impact in the community per the experience I'd had leading up to that point than to learn this recipe, learn the system that Action Coach has been using for so long, of course, and help other people avoid trial and error along the way and growing their business. So that's what brings me here today.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think there's a couple of lessons in there. So we'll come back to we'll talk about Action Coach in a minute, but I want to take the lessons that are there. And the first one that I got was, hey, you were just out of college. You didn't have a lot of resources, but you were able to buy a business. So it's a misconception for people who want to be in business that you have to have, a pile of cash to be able to buy a business. I mean, I've had several clients where one of my clients has bought 3 businesses with no money down, none, zero. We're getting ready to buy a 4th one where we're going to put some money down because it makes more sense. But there are plenty of opportunities for people who want to get into business. So I think there's a good lesson there. What did you were you just curious, or were you just kind of kept asking questions, or how did it all come about that you were able to buy a business?
For that transition?
Yeah.
So I remember, he may not remember this, but I remember it because I've had, we've read the book Think and Grow Rich. You and I have, Bill, I know. So maybe you have too, whoever's listening to this. And your mindset and what your goals are is such a powerful drive in life. So having thought about and aspired to having an outdoor retail business since middle school, the first day I worked at Footsloggers, and it was a score to get that job. I was excited about that. The first day, I remember I was folding T-shirts, of all things, and the owner walked by and I said, "Hey, you need to start thinking about selling the business to me in a few years." And he's kind of like laughed it off, and I laughed it off, and I looked at him like, "But I'm serious." So that I planted the seed from day one, and reinforced that through work ethic and asking for more responsibilities along the way, and just showing up like an owner. A couple of years into working there part-time and then full-time later, several times I remember, because it was kind of a shot in the arm. I'd be working with customers at the store, and every now and then I would get asked, "Hey, are you one of the owners of the shop?" And I wasn't, but I owned my presence there, and I thought that was kind of interesting too. So you got to show up, right?
Yeah, no, I think setting the intention, being bold enough to say something a little bit. For a kid, it might be considered a little cocky, but that's okay. it worked. And then, you got to put yourself out there. You got to ask the question. You never know until you ask. People make up stuff in their heads until they actually ask the person you would have never found out the guy was looking to sell. The second piece that I got was that you were a great technician. You were great at selling gear. You were great at selling tents and backpacks and coats and t-shirts and boots, and you were great at all that, but you didn't necessarily know how to run a backpack boot business, even though you worked in the business for a while before you actually purchased it. So that transition is interesting. I think a lot of people think just because they have the training or the school, we see it all the time where someone who actually was maybe a general manager of a business takes it over and doesn't do well with it because they just didn't understand the full business concept and couldn't make the transition from technician to business owner. So, and that's essentially what we get to do every day in Action Coach. So it's super cool. So tell us a little bit about, so you made the transition, you had the lifelong dream of having this business. You got it. It wasn't all that you thought it would be. It sort of sucked your life out of you. Is that a fair statement? It kind of sucked.
Yeah, absolutely.
It sucked the life out of you. There's probably some stuff going on at home that wasn't super cool with your wife and that sort of thing. So, but you came across Action Coach, and it seemed to me to check all the boxes of what you wanted to do. So talk about some of your, I guess, successes of things that have happened, and has it met your expectations when you I know you do. You're the kind of guy who does great due diligence. So I know you did the due diligence before you ever joined Action Coach. But tell us a little bit about your experience with Action Coach so far. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The journey with Action Coach. Yeah, exactly. So I did great due diligence, of course, and I alluded to this earlier, but frankly, I was not going to put my name on anything that I didn't completely believe in. And what I'd experienced in that small business, I had a couple of consultants, brilliant people. But what an opinion I have is that someone who's got an expertise in consulting in a specific area of business, I think that works for that person to go in and update some systems with a team that already exists in a larger company. But in a small business, generally speaking, small systems don't exist. So what I experienced was the consultants that I worked with came in, we did great work together, like I said, but when they left, there was nobody to hand the updated approach to. Systems weren't being held accountable and all these kind of things. So, the difference between consulting and coaching is pretty significant. And I hadn't been taught how to implement and carry forward and hold accountable those things in my own business. That's the key. So once I discovered that's how Action Coach approaches this, again, I was like, that was the missing piece. That was the missing piece, and the accountability ongoing is really where the magic happens. And 4.5 years, Bill, and every month, my decision to do this moving forward with my life and my time here has been reinforced every month. I've been more and more, passionate about the decision, about so I've got everybody's got a why, whether they've identified it specifically or not. And my why is to meaningfully impact the home life of my community. The way I see it is when we're young, we grow up in an environment at home, and that really lends itself to what kind of life experience and mindset I've got as someone who's growing up through teenage years and into adulthood. So if I can make an impact on what's happening in the home life of a community, so much, talk about a legacy that will pay forward over time. The most scalable way that I've the term that I've discovered so far with my personal experience and background to make that impact is through business coaching. If I can work with 100 or 1,000 businesses and each of them has 10 employees with families at home, let's just say it's 100 businesses and 10 employees each. Yeah, that's 1,000 households that I can work with those owners and those leaders in those businesses, help to improve their environment, improve their culture. We all know what it feels like to work in a toxic work environment. And some of us have experienced working in a really positive working environment. So what do you have to take home energy-wise at the end of the day from each of those experiences? And when you're working in a positive environment, you've got a lot more energy to bring home to your family and friends at the end of the day. So that's why I'm doing what I do. I have not discovered anything else, again, per my background and experience, that's a more scaled opportunity to make that kind of an impact. And again, to answer your question, my decision to join Action Coach has been reinforced over and over. And I'm much more excited about it than I ever have been before.
Well, that's awesome. And, one of the things in action that's so cool in being a coach is that we really get to experience our clients' successes. So maybe give us a case study or a story about one or more of your clients that come to mind that's been particularly rewarding for you because you're impacting those thousands of communities and family lives that are impacting our communities here in North Carolina.
Sure. There's one that comes to mind first is it's a business. It's been family owned business for 40 years. And one of the two, it was two brothers. One of the brothers passed away unexpectedly. And that kind of flipped things on its head naturally in this business. And they didn't really have a succession plan or a transition plan in case something like that happened necessarily. So one of the other family members was interested, and they were thinking about just selling the business and like, okay, let's just move on. But one of the other family members who was working a full-time job, very, very accomplished young man with a family, said, hey, why don't you give me a shot to get into leadership with this and see if we can't move it forward and do some great things and continue to grow and serve the community through this business. So, there you have a family legacy transition, right? So the business up in the mountains that I was involved with, that was a legacy transition. I wasn't a family member of his, but it was a legacy handoff. As one generation, there's a generational handoff. So I had some experience with that, and this business in 40 years had grown to about 18 or 19 employees, and I've been working with them for about 2.5 years now. And in that time, a GM has been appointed early on when we were working together. I'm working with the GM. There's 3 departments. So I'm working with the managers of the departments, and I'm working with the owner. So this is a very hands-on coaching relationship. And the beautiful thing is the owner understands that either he works through a resource like Action Coach or like with me to coach his team members, or it's going to take his time to do that. So in recognizing that, he knows that his time is better spent, higher level viewpoint, making some big, year to 5 year kind of decisions and moves, while I'm taking his guidance and working with the team and moving things forward. So that all being said, 18, 20 employees when we started working together. I think they're at 32 or 33 employees now.
Wow.
Significant increase in number of employees. So there's more families being impacted, like we were talking about. It doesn't happen overnight. And from day one, he understood that too. He said, this is going to be a 5-6 year relationship, I'm guessing, because he knows that stuff takes time, and getting people to shift a behavior after 40 years of doing it this way, turning the boat is, it takes a minute. So they've been patient with the process. They've been diligent and consistent with the process. And this business that's 40 years old, they were doing, I don't want to give exact numbers, but, between 5 and 10 million. And they're looking at knocking on the door of 20 million not too long from now.
Yeah.
So they put in the work. They've been diligent. They've been consistent, and they understand. And they've been patient with the process. So go ahead, Bill.
Well, I mean, you're going to more than double the sales. Which is going to more than double the profits. But you're also you've added a third, again, the workforce.
Yeah.
To do that. So you've impacted more families. We've created more community. It's a win for it's a win for the employees. It's a win for the customers. It's a win for the client, and it's a win for you. So, in action. So that's a great story of the kind of things that, I mean, and, the interesting thing is I was having a discussion with one of my clients last week, and I said, what is the problem that we solve? And what he said was, Bill, a lot of times most business owners don't even know they have a problem. They don't know that they need somebody outside looking in. They don't know that they need that accountability. So to me, that's an outstanding example of how we come alongside someone to help them get to where they wanted to go. This guy obviously had big dreams for what he could do with the company, and what he's doing for his family, essentially. I mean, it's a family legacy, so they're keeping the family business going. So that's great. Thanks for sharing that. That's awesome.
Another quick note before you
go ahead. Give us another one.
No, not another one, but it's another perspective on this. So the owner, when I first started working with these guys, working full-time job and doing this kind of on the side, I was coaching his leadership. And he said, you can work with me once a month while I'm working full time. And then, and one of our objectives was to begin with, let's increase the profitability so I can get out of this job as quick as possible and then be on site working full time there. And within, I think it was 8 months, we had grown the business so that he could leave that job and transition into the family business full time. And now we're looking at, okay, what's the next step? Getting this thing to run without him so that the profitability and cash flow is happening. Everybody's being taken care of. The team members are being taken care of really well. But at some point, it might not take more than 1 or 2 days a week for him to actually run the business as an owner. And so that's the next step. I just think that's a cool perspective from an owner's point of view. What's possible over time, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, and then it's like, what else can you do? I mean, if he knows how to do it once, then what else is next? I mean, for example, I just had a coaching call this morning with a client of mine whose business essentially does run without him. And he's bought another business. I mean, he's decided that it's an allied business. It's not the same business. It can be, it's similar, but it's not in the same business. And he's taking all the principles of culture and building a business, and he's applying them to this business that's been essentially been in business a long time, but essentially the employees haven't been treated that great over a long period of time. And now he's coming in and really his thing is culture and team building, and he's really good at it. So that business is already starting to see some results. Cool. Well, let's talk about, I mean, you've joined our team now, which is cool. That's exciting. We're glad to have you.
Yeah.
What are your goals now? What is it? Where are we headed now?
So I'm not even sure I've shared this with you yet, Bill, but We got
Time to do it.
got to have big vision, right? So I'm not sure how yet, and that'll unfold as however it unfolds. But I want to have a meaningful impact on 100,000 businesses in my career. I don't exactly know how that's going to transpire or unfold right now, but this is the next step in that direction. So, I'm excited about our team growing. I'm excited about being on this team. There's, what I see happening is we're attracting a lot of great talent out of the marketplace, and there's a lesson for you if you own a business. A great way to attract talent is to manage the energy of what's happening in your business really well. And that comes through culture and environment, how you're taking care of the team and all these things. If you're not attracting team members and there's high turnover, then that's something that is all on your shoulders as the owner to figure out. So I'll just leave that there for now, but getting into coaching mode, right? I'm excited about this growing. I'm excited about serving, first of all, Western North Carolina very specifically in an impactful way, but there's really not any borders to what we do. So I'm just excited, whatever touch points and wherever we can make that impact, I am all about it. And there's no idea that intimidates me in size. So I'm ready to get after it with you. And you've been doing this a lot longer than I have, Bill. So I'm excited about your experience rubbing off on me as well. So it's going to be good.
Yeah, we're super excited. I love that. 100,000. I mean, I can't tell you the number of times I've just had a coffee with someone and, mentioned something and I get a call, holy cow, that changed my life. Or, this one thing you said, I went and did it. And it's made a difference in my business. I'll never forget. I was just I had a friend who owned a jewelry store and I was in talking to her one day and I said, so, how many times do you ask every single person that comes in, if they need a watch battery? And she said, well, we never ask people. They just come in and ask us. And I said, well, so, what do you charge? And it was like $6 or something at the time. And I said, why don't you just change it to $7? And she said, maybe, I don't know. It was the kind of thing. And then I saw her, a couple months later, and she said, I changed the watch battery thing. And you can't believe how much more money that's made us, $1 on watch batteries, because they were doing, they do 4, 5, 6 a day. Do the math. It's a big deal. So just some little offhand comments sometimes. So, for you, look, call us. Let's get booked in to have a meeting with Jason so that he can help you be one of those 100,000 people that's been impacted positively by what we do. And so it's great to have you on the team. It's been a great conversation. I'm sure there'll be more of these that we can put out there, but welcome to the team.
I appreciate it, Bill. Yes, it's awesome, and it's going to get better and better. I'm excited.
And until next time, all the best.